this is as good a time as any to point out the difference between headstones and footstones. Footstones are not popular anymore, but at one time it was fashionable to put not only a headstone, but a footstone to mark the two ends of a grave. So those are marking the, naturally, foot.
Kind of like a headboard and a footrest.
Yeah, kind of. So when you take the big nap, you're all set. Anyway, as you might have suspected, this is the family pot of Washington Irving. By the way, feel free to take pictures. If you get anything ghostly on there, let me know, because that'd be really cool. Ooh, we had one lantern go out already.
Wow.
Hot damn. You got the haunted lantern, what can I say? Irving, by the way, is, the reason we're all here. Otherwise, none of us would be crazy enough to be out in Sleepy Hollow at night if you hadn't written that little story called The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Irving was born in New York City, in Lower Manhattan. He was the 11th of 11 children, a little bit spoiled as a child and as a young man. Wasn't quite the most studious kid, managed to escape through school with as little effort as he could. Did manage to pass the bar, but the judge that passed him and gave him permission to practice law was pretty much forced to hire him because nobody else would. Kind of lackadaisical in his pursuit of the law. He was much more interested in writing. He wrote a bunch of satirical articles along with one of his brothers, published in local papers. Kind of a hit, Town Gundy papers. In those papers, he poked fun at his snooty Manhattan neighbors and dubbed the town of Manhattan Gotham, which was literally an English village of idiots. New Yorkers took to a shine to the name and have, hung on to it ever since. Anyway, Irving, also as a young man, published a satirical history, mock epic history of New York called Diedrich Knickerbocker's History of New York. It was a pretty good success, and when his family sent him to England to mind the English office, their London office of their import-export business, his fame preceded him, and he was popular on the party circuit in London. Needless to say, he wasn't popular with his family for ignoring the family's business, but he did have a couple of other brothers over there that were minding the shop while he was out living the high life. While in England, he wrote a book of short stories called The Sketchbook of Geoffrey Crayon, in which there were two stories that we still know today. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, of course, my favorite, and Rip Van Winkle, along with a bunch of others. Irving, on his return to the States, was wildly popular as an internationally known author. He settled here in Tarrytown, bought an old Dutch farmer's house, renamed it Sunnyside, and expanded it. Invited some of his nieces and nephews and brothers to join him there, where he had a very large and happy household. None of his own kids, so if you ever meet someone who says they're a descendant of Irving, he had no kids, they're lying. Irving did, this plot, by the way, holds people other than just Irving and his immediate family. There are ancestors of his that were buried in churchyards or cemeteries in New York City, on Manhattan Island. As those cemeteries were removed to make way for development, bodies would be either forcibly disinterred and moved elsewhere, or families could elect to move them out and rebury them elsewhere. Irving, anticipating that, moved a lot of his relatives up here, so some of these people were long deceased by the time they were buried here. Irving Stone, by the way, did not initially look like this. Irving Stone initially looked very much like the others here. In fact, I got a photo here, if you want to pass that around and hold up to a lantern light. You'll see that the Irving grave in the middle right there looks very much like the others. That was Irving's first stone. Irving was such a popular tourist draw after his death that people would take the train up from New York City, walk up the hill from the station, picnic on the largely undeveloped grounds of Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, and look for a little souvenir to take home with them. The corners of these stones made a tempting target, and after one stone was demolished by souvenir hunters, Irving's family replaced it with another stone of the same style. And after that one was demolished, they wised up and put one in here that has corners on it. So this one has stayed. This is the third stone. Thank you very much. Anyway, Irving is buried facing due south. He overlooks the 3-acre churchyard of the old Dutch burying ground. The church and its churchyard, by the way, are not part of Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, which is why I don't walk up through there. It is still run by an active congregation. They do use it during the summertime. They meet during the winter and fall in their modern church, as they call it, the 1820 vintage church that's down in the middle of Tarrytown. So Irving is buried overlooking his most famous short story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. All right, I'm freezing. We're going to